Hi there, folks. My name is Jacob Walker. I'm a high school music teacher in Northern Virginia, and for this week's lesson, I'm going to share how to record an acoustic instrument. And for the acoustic instrument we're going to be doing today, I'm going to choose the nylon string guitar, which for me has been a notoriously difficult instrument to record, and so I'll try to save you some of my trouble, and maybe you can save me some of my trouble in the feedback. So first, we'll go over the equipment that you'll want to use, or that I've found that I like through a lot of trial and error. So first of all, you'll need your microphones or microphone. I like to use two. I go with the large diaphragm condenser microphone to capture sort of the ambient room sound and just get a little bit of a less biased audio picture of what's going on. So I've got a cardioid pattern large diaphragm condenser, and then I also use a dynamic microphone that's front addressed for instruments. So I use the Shure SM57, and those two microphones suit me pretty well. Next, you're going to want your audio interface. So this one here is the Focusrite, and it's pretty inexpensive, but it does a nice job. It's very clean to look at, and you can use XLR inputs as I have, or if you'll notice down at the bottom of the interface, there's a switch for line or instrument. So if you're going to plug in your 1/4 inch TS cable from your electric guitar or whatever, then you just switch it over. So that's your audio interface. And then you'll probably want either some studio monitor headphones or just studio monitor speakers. For me, in my situation at my house, it's good to use headphones. So I've got these Audio Technicas that I like. They give me a very realistic sound, and it's an accurate representation. Again, it's an unbiased EQ in these headphones, and they work pretty well. So I didn't mention this, but you're also going to want microphone cables, obviously, to connect from the microphone to the audio interface. You'll not want to skimp on these. Make sure they're good quality, low noise, all that good stuff, and take good care of them. Also, you'll need microphone stands. I like to use boom stands just because they're super adjustable. They do take up a little bit more space, so consider the telescoping variety if you are short on space. But I've got boom stands here. For your condenser microphone, it might be a good idea to get one of these shock mounts. Now, the shock mount is not totally necessary. I guess that could be argued. But it allows for slight vibrations in the room, or if you accidentally are tapping your foot near the mic stand or something like that, those vibrations won't transfer through the stand and cause pops or whatever in your recording. So that would be a good thing to get. And if you're recording vocals, you might want to get one of those little pop screens to go in front of it as well. Now, if you want to go minimalist, I really like, and I highly recommend, one of these all-in-one deals. So what I use is the Zoom H4n, which it has built into it almost everything that I have here. It's got two inputs, a right and a left. Not necessarily right and a left, but it's got two inputs. So you could connect XLR, you could connect instrument cables, and it also comes on the front a nice set of condenser microphones, or they might be dynamic. But in any case, it's got a couple of good microphones on the front, and I would use that for if I was recording an ensemble like a choir or an orchestra. and I just wanted something low profile and out of the way, I'd just stick that on a mic stand. It also has an audio interface built into it and preamp and all that. So it's quite good for avoiding all of this setup that I have here. So I've also got my digital audio workstation. In my case, I'm going to be using Logic Pro 10, and you'll want some place to display the music, whatever you're working on. So I've got my nice short music stand, and make sure you're comfortable. You can't make good music if you're uncomfortable doing it. One note about my recording space, the room I'm in is the front of the house, so any road noise or anything like that, I like to minimize, and so I've got my cardioid pattern obviously facing away from that wall, so that it will reject any noise coming from over there. Same thing with the HVAC system. Probably you heard that click on, and so that's something you want to consider too if you want to get a nice quiet room. So let's get into the process of recording a nylon string guitar. When you're doing this, you'll want to consider the microphone placement. So I've got my mics placed with the condenser microphone a little bit farther away, maybe about a foot away from the guitar, a little more than that actually. And I usually will put it near the fingerboard. And you could be concerned that that picks up a lot of the string noise and that sort of thing. And yes, to a degree it will do that, but it also, I find, is just a nice placement for getting a little bit of the room sound. And then my dynamic instrument microphone, I placed that one pretty close to the sound hole, between 8 and 12 inches or so. That you don't want to bump into it with your hand, and you also don't want too much of the sound hole boom. The guitar is a pretty bassy instrument, and so it's tough to avoid that sound hole boom. So I'm going to do my best now to show you what we do to record an instrument like this. Okay, I've got my guitar here, and I'm set up, ready to go. So we're going to do the last bit of checklist stuff before we actually start just recording. You want to make sure your levels are okay. So adjust the preamp levels or the trim on your audio interface, and that's just going to take some experimentation. So what you want to do is make sure that when you play the loudest part of your music, you don't clip. You don't want the levels to go into the red. Now, on my audio interface, there's a green light and a red light, and nothing in between. So you can see when it overloads and when it clips, or I can monitor it using my digital audio workstation. So I can take a look at the levels down here in the mixer and just make sure, I'd like to go for a target range between -24 and -12 for most of the music. And when I check the loudest part, I just want to make sure it doesn't go into the red. So for this piece, this is a guitar piece that's got a pretty good dynamic range. So I'm going to go to the loudest portion right here, which was where I'm going to do some strumming. And I'm going to make sure that the monitor doesn't go into the red here. And so I noticed that it didn't clip, so I could play a little bit louder and just see what happens. And that time, yeah, I did get some of the red. So I just need to make sure either I won't play that aggressively loud or adjust the trim a little bit on my audio interface. Remember that you don't want to be adjusting your levels at too many different places. So get it right on the audio interface, and then if you need to cut, you can do that some in your digital audio workstation. So then, once you like what you have level-wise, you can begin recording. So, I'll hit record and just play a little bit to give you an idea. So once you get your recording done, then you can edit, EQ, whatever else you like to do, but that's an entirely different topic. So thanks for watching and listening, and I welcome any feedback you have in your grading. Thanks a lot.